How's it going, guys, and welcome to your Smackdown review. So this is the go-home show before Extreme Rules, and yeah, this card right here, the Extreme Rules, it's like, uh, I'll watch it, I guess. I was thinking about maybe skipping it, but I was like, I want to do the review for everybody, and but it's just so pointless watching this. We kind of already know what the result is of the main event. Big E is looks like he's not even going to be defending his title, which is really weird to me. Instead, we get Liv Morgan and Carmella, but we don't get the second world title being put on the line, which is just really odd to me. You have a lot of titles are not being defended, but they'll put that match on there when there's already two women's matches on there already. So let's get into this show. So we've got Cringey Lynch and Bianca Belair kicking things off, and this promo right here, it was basically a repeat of every other promo they've had so far up to this point. I beat you in 26 seconds, and Bianca says, "Oh, no, you're not going to beat me in 26 seconds." And then she does the EST thing. And then Cringey Lynch then fires back and says, "Oh, I thought you were supposed to be the EST with everything." And she was saying ready, but then I think she almost wanted to say readiest, but realized that wasn't a word. I don't know. It was a little bit weird. She kind of caught herself, and then I don't know, but they're just repeating themselves over and over and over. And, I kind of see that's the problem with Bianca Belair. I like her. I think she's talented, but, and she does look like a star. But the thing is, it's she's held back by all these weird things, like the catchphrase that has to be repeated over and over. And we're going to talk about that when Montez Ford cuts a promo in just a bit. Repeating themselves. Doing the same thing. The Rock had a catchphrase. Stone Cold had a catchphrase. But they didn't have to make that the whole promo. They would intertwine and then just kind of cap it off with that. Here it's everything else is uninteresting. And then that's the part, oh, I'm going to say the catchphrase to get the pop. But none of the surrounding words are of any interest for anyone to listen to. So we kind of get the reverse of what happened last week, and we get Bianca hitting her finisher on Cringey Lynch, because last week we had Cringey hitting how the hell do you say this move? The manhandle slam. Oh, there, I finally got it. I don't know, something about the way how that sounds, it's the rock bottom, for God's sakes. But yeah, the manhandle slam. It's I almost want to say the love handle slam, or that's what it makes me think of. Something like that, or the glad handle slam. I don't know why that keeps coming to mind, but yeah, manhandle slam. So she reverses that. And that's the segment right there. And, am I feeling excited about this match? No, not really. What would be really interesting is if, Bianca pays her back with another quick match, but we'll probably end up getting a 20-minute match, and it's going to be completely overblown because, Cringey Lynch is probably going to want to get all her shit in after not being there for so long. Think about that. We haven't actually seen her wrestle for really wrestle besides a little quick match. But these promos, yikes. This one was just really you can put all the promos side by side and they pretty much sound the same way. Up next, we've got Naka Murphy defeating Apollo Crews, and just felt like a really odd match to me. I don't know, it just felt like it was barely even there. Apollo Crews is just trounced upon, and not I'm a big Crews fan where it really, irks me or anything like that, but they built this guy up, they gave him a character, he seemed like he was doing well with it, and they just couldn't stay consistent with it. I mean, the guy is performing. I mean, his promos are definitely better and everything because now he has a character and he's not just Apollo Crews, the high flying guy that's supposed to be impressive, which is like so many people's gimmicks nowadays. But this is just a throwaway thing. I always get a kick out of Pat McAfee and Boogs. Was his guitar was working this week. I'm not a big fan of him playing during the match. I think that that's really distracting, and it's not a good thing to like do that during the match. It kind of doesn't make any sense. He's cheering him on with the guitar, but I don't know. This whole thing with Nakamurphy and Boogs, like, Boogs is the star of the show, and I feel like Nakamurphy is just like leading up to the Nakamurphy match. It's such a come down. I feel like there's so much to explore with Boogs. Like, the guy seems ultra charismatic. I think it's about time that Boogs kind of like unhitch the wagon to Nakamurphy and start going down that route, because we see he can wrestle. We see that the guy is super entertaining, super energetic, willing to do pretty much everything. And, well, I think it's about time that the Nakamurphy ship sail away. I know that's, a lot of people get irked by that. And we've been waiting for this great Nakamurphy moment. This guy was a Royal Rumble winner. And we're watching him like as a mid-carder, not really doing anything significant. We don't really feel anything from this guy. It's like he was built up and people will, they'll make 1,000 excuses. Oh, well, he wasn't treated right. They've given him multiple opportunities to shine. And, there's been so many things, the language barrier, all these different excuses and things. And it's just like, maybe the guy's overrated, just like about everyone else that the internet gets behind. This was somewhat of a Kenny Omega type of thing, with Nakamurphy a few years back. We thought we were getting the greatest of all time coming to WWE. Oh, shit, we're getting someone amazing. And then we ended up just getting someone just, kind of average, really, to say the least. It's someone with not a lot of pizzazz to them. We get to Montez Ford cutting a promo, and he calls the Usos bitches. Angelo Dawkins is not here this week. He's doing a wedding. Is it me or, a wrestler's like always missing on these shows? Like, back in the day, once in a while, but like now, like there's always like many wrestlers missing on this show. Like, Cesaro went missing again. We'll see Otis and Gable later on for like 2 seconds. We'll talk about that. But I mean, like, so many people go from like having extensive time on these shows, especially Cesaro. You have this guy who main evented a show. What was it? You Backlash, right? WrestleMania Backlash. Main events against Roman Reigns. And he's like nowhere to be seen weeks later. Just unbelievable to me. I don't know like how that's possible that they book it that way, but whatever. I'm not a giant Cesaro fan, so I'm not really complaining too much. But yeah, a lot of wrestlers just go missing, MIA. And I mean, it's good that they're giving them time off and, but it just, sometimes it's like unexplained, like guys are just not there and they don't even bother to mention why half the time. So it was good that they gave a reason. So the camera switches over to Roman, and Roman asks for a match against Montez, tells Paul Heyman to go fetch him. And, you had that kind of funny Paul Heyman awkwardness, cartoon Paul Heyman, rushing to go see Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, which he does. And they say they don't know anything about Brock, like alluding to the fact that he's been asking about Brock. And they were very, very like skimpy on the details about Brock. And I don't know if they wanted to blow the cover on him appearing at Extreme Rules. I think, to make Extreme Rules be somewhat eventful, they're going to have Brock Lesnar booked for that show. Because, I mean, if we're just going off the air with a victory over Finn Balor for Roman Reigns, then that show just is probably going to end up being one of the most forgettable of all time. I mean, I gotta say, this is probably one of the most underwhelming main events I've seen. You know, we just know that even if there wasn't a Brock Lesnar match lined up down the line, we know that this wouldn't be a title victory for Finn. And we see people complaining about this. People online saying that they'd like to see, like, Finn get his comeuppance finally in WWE. Like, you'd actually like to see Finn Balor when we're finally getting reputable champions, you know, guys that actually look like stars now. And we moved away from those dark days of 2016 when they started to go totally indie, giving the world title to Kevin Owens and, you know, Seth Rollins when he was at his indiest, you know, and of course Finn Balor. You know, finally we move away from that, and people want them to go back to that garbage. And, you know, please, I just hope that WWE never, you know, goes back into that that dimension of torture, which led to me taking a break from the product back in late 2016. I'm sure as a lot long-time viewers remember. So, you know, keep in mind that Montez Ford had ended that promo. We got the smoke because he's going to say it later on. So anyway, Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce make the match, and it's on for tonight. Montez versus Roman. We've got Seth Rollins cutting a promo. And, you know, once again, Rollins just excellent right here. I felt like, you know, I don't know what they could have done here. It's not my job to do creative, but, like, I don't know if they could do something a bit more with this story. I mean, I feel like it's always just promo, promo, promo. Isn't there something that they could do with Rollins to mock Edge? Can he maybe go somewhere or do something to be offensive to Edge? I mean, I don't know. Get people to badmouth them. I'm just saying, like, I'm throwing some random ideas out there. You know, but Rollins definitely has got the psychological factor down in his promos. We're no longer getting, we're on fire tonight, and the feeling, the cheesesteaks are fantastic. You remember that garbage from way back when? Those days fortunately seem to be behind us, and I hope they stay there for good. And I can't believe that I ended up being a fan of Rollins, but I'm looking forward to the rubber match that they're going to eventually have, whenever that may be. I mean, seriously, like, Rollins and Edge have some great chemistry in the ring, and to me, this is a very enjoyable feud. And I actually like that, you know, when they went back and played the video package, Edge literally did have fear in his eyes. So, you know, even though that's a kind of a tired old trope. Oh, I saw fear in his eyes. Edge actually acted out fear. And I don't know if that was supposed to be a lead into that promo last week. And if it is, then I really enjoy that foresight and I give them credit. But even if it was a coincidence, it's kind of a testament to the video packaging of WWE and just how great they put things together, that they zoomed in on Edge's eyes and you saw Edge did look kind of scared there. And, you know, that was good acting on his part, good facials, as we'd expect from a veteran like Edge. I mean, to me, I can't put this over enough to people that ever since working with Edge, Seth Rollins is just becoming a whole different talent. And, I mean, I think that's just a testament to just how much of a legend Edge is, just how great he is. I mean, just look how this guy came back and the phenomenal performances he put on at WrestleMania. And, you know, in the two matches so far against Seth Rollins, I mean, they've been great. I mean, and the one-on-one that he had with Roman Reigns, I mean, can we really argue the point that these weren't some really phenomenal matches? Because they were. And so even like on promos, we see when Edge cuts a promo how it's miles ahead of everybody. Just the facials and everything, and just the eyes and just the focus. And we see that now at Rollins. It definitely seems like there was definitely a little bit of a powwow from time to time during this feud between the two. And it really seems to have paid off tenfold. So good for Rollins. I mean, look at that. You know, I went from a Rollins hater to a Rollins fan. Then we get Zelina Vega defeating Liv Morgan. Her first victory back. And yeah, there was, you know, some interference with Carmella on the outside, and seems like, based on the way they had Carmella dress, it always seems like they're kind of dancing, like kind of having, I don't know where they're at. Like they want to have a lot of women's matches, but we still have like Carmella. I don't know if they're just kind of putting her as the sex appeal character. But like from what I'm seeing with like Carmel, I'm like, all right, so we're heading in that direction again, which is good. But then again, we're having like 3 women's matches on the show, and this is just, I don't know who wants this. And we see like it time and time again, it's like undoubtedly the worst part of the show, especially when we open the show and we're just getting piss poor promos like that. Why they would feel the need to throw on a random Liv Morgan Carmella match is beyond me. I mean, seriously, 3 matches for the women. I mean, I think that's going to end up being on the pre-show, but it's not like they really have a lot else. They've been running down the card. Just tell me this, please. Make this show 2.5 hours. Do not make it 3, because they don't have anything for this show. It is quite obvious. I mean, this show's kind of bare bones, and I don't understand why. Like, Rey Mysterio doesn't have a match. I mean, like, how are we having this card and there's like barely anyone on it? Bobby Lashley doesn't have a match. You know what I'm saying? I said Big E before. Let's like, how did we not, like, I don't get it. Like, even Edge, that they're just kind of skipping this pay-per-view for him. And I mean, I get that they wanted to have his match in MSG, and and he's only scheduled to work certain dates. I get that. It's definitely more of a greater frequency than Brock Lesnar, that's for sure. But I don't know. There's just so many people missing from this card, and it's just a real junky card that I can't get past, and it's just it's really like confusing. Like, why are we even having this event? Like seriously, like, do we need to have it? Could we not just skip this one? I mean, and just we'll go right to the Saudi Arabia show, just go right to Crown Jewel, because that's the one that people want to see anyway, because they want to see the Roman Brock match. So why do we have to sit through all of this, including the 3 women's matches that basically no one's looking forward to? But Zelina Vega winning a match here. And it's funny that it's at the expense of Liv Morgan, but I was shocked. I was absolutely floored. I didn't think that she'd win a match for the whole year, but there's her first win. And then we get Baron Corbin with his new segment, Happy Talk. And I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, Corbin is definitely charismatic. You guys know I'm a big fan of Corbin, but like, if we're at the point where we're whistling, we're sitting there listening to him name everything that he ate, and we've heard him say the Wagyu beef line, like, they didn't have anything for this. And I get it's supposed to be that he was the guest on the show and he's self-indulging in himself, but like, it was so obvious that there was nothing written for this segment. So we get Kevin Owens coming out, and then Riddick Moss pops out of nowhere, who, I remember saying a while back when they had him in the 24/7 championship scene, I said this guy looked pretty impressive. This was really random to me. Apparently the guy wrestles on Main Event quite frequently, or sometimes. I don't know. This was really random, and like, he shows up and like, no explanation to who the guy is, and they don't even explain that he was a former football player. Like, I mean, you might as well just reboot the guy, because God knows no one's going to remember him, especially people who watch this show casually. Like, they're not going to know who that is. Like, who is this guy? Riddick Moss? Like, they're making like this was some famous wrestler that just came in to do a run-in. No, it was Riddick Moss. And even though it seemed like this guy has potential, like, you barely explain who he is. You're giving us a name, and people are like, okay, like, should I care? Like who is he? Maybe if you filled the audience in. I just thought it was a little bit weird just debuting this guy kind of like that. And I mean, it just kind of seemed like a really cold debut. I mean, you could argue that it was hot because they beat the shit out of Owens, but it was just really random to me, and I don't think it really had the effect that they were probably going for. Then we get Montez Ford responding to Roman Reigns and the match that was made. And again, he cuts the promo and he says, we got the smoke. I mean, this is the same thing with his wife, Bianca Belair. Can he get through a promo without having to end it with the catchphrase? I mean, it's the same thing, like, even with Bianca coming out and doing the entrance. Is there any way that they could make it to the ring without having to do all the mannerisms every single time they go out there? I mean, it's like a nervous tick, like, oh, I gotta say it. We got the smoke. Oh, like, you gotta say it every single time. Okay, we get the point. You don't have to end it. You already said it. Now, maybe he's saying it again for the people that missed it the first time, but if that's the case, I mean, come on already. Have some mercy to the people who've watched the show from the start. Then we get Nikki ASH, and I didn't even know that her and an old Stompy Foot over there won the Raw. Well, not the Raw. There's only one pair of women's tag titles, but yeah, they won the belts apparently, and I mean, I don't know really what to say here, but this team, I mean, her and Rhea Ripley, I mean, like, where did they get the idea from this team? It's quite obvious that they have no idea what to do with these people. I mean, Rhea Ripley, who's like a charisma void, there's nothing to her. She looks like a mess. She comes out there like, she doesn't want to touch the toilet handle in the bathroom, and she's like stomping her foot on it to flush it. I mean, that's exactly what it looks like every single time. This is what I picture every single, whoosh, like every single time she does a stomp, I hear the flushing of a toilet, basically. That's what I see. That's what I hear. I can't get that image out of my mind, so I'm thinking shit, and I don't go that far. But anyway, Nikki ASH. First of all, that is the most awkward thing to say of all time. I don't know why they didn't just say Nikki Ash, but I guess that'd be so stupid to say too. But Nikki almost a superhero. So she's making herself a superhero, and she's not even good enough to be a superhero. I mean, we've said this already, but, the Money in the Bank, it seemed like a good moment, and she had her feel-good moment. But, like, first of all, why are Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross even a tag team? Now, I get it, odd couples and all that, and they put up the odd couple tag team video, which is actually a really entertaining video, and I posted it on Facebook in the Wrestling Gods group. I enjoyed that one, but wow. I mean, it just makes no sense to have the metalhead chick and the superhero with the goofiest outfit I've ever did see pair up. After, because they respect each other. Oh, okay, so that's a great reason. We're going to be a tag team out of respect. I mean, could you come up with a less creative reason to make a tag team than that? I don't really think so. But anyway, we get Nikki getting the pin on Natalya. That's about it. I mean, all that build with, the tag champions. We get, Natalya and Tamina being these dominant tag champs, and they just rip them away. And then they remembered that they promised the tag titles to Shotzi and Knox, and they come out in the tank and they fire their little fake missile, and the crowd is completely dead for it. So yeah, go ahead and make some more women's matches there, because people don't even care about the ones you have booked. Now, I don't think that's going to be on the pay-per-view. Maybe that will be the pre-show. Yeah, won't that be great? Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you book that on the pre-show and then give us 3 of those joyous women matches? Like, is it that not enough? Is it got to be that excessive? And how is McMahon even allowing this on the show? I mean, honestly, how is this card this booked to hell? I mean, seriously, this is it's a hideous card, to say the least. It truly is. I mean, Really. I mean, we've got a predictable main event coming up and nothing else really to speak of. I mean, I'm looking at the card right now on my computer here. I've got, yeah, so we've got the Universal Championship match. We've got Charlotte versus Alexa. We've got Cringey Lynch and Bianca Belair. So that's three right there. We got a triple threat for the U.S. Championship. You know, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, Damian Priest, which, you know, I like Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. Don't give a damn about Damian Priest, but whatever. Usos versus the Street Profits, which I'm sure that's going to be a good match. And Liv Morgan versus Carmella. So we have 6 matches there. And, like, you know, there's one that, you know, I know is going to be, well, 2 that's going to be good. We all know that Balor and Reigns are probably going to end up having a pretty decent match. Of course, Balor's probably going to get way more offense than he really should. But anyway, I mean, this is really just a really flat out disastrous card that just has so much nonsense on it. Like I said, doesn't have any real reason to truly exist. But yeah, why don't you throw another match on there on the pre-show just to even it out? Imagine that nonsense. Like, come on already. Yeah, so Shotzi and Tegan Knox. Like, it's like no one cares about them. They roll in on that stupid tank. Shotzi, like, just looking like a dumbass. Like, honestly, I can't believe so many people simp for that girl. I'm just saying, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. She just comes across as, like, kind of really annoying and goofy. I don't know what it is. It just is. I don't know. We've got Rey Mysterio and Dominic, and they're doing this angle that I'm just not feeling. You know, like, you know, Dad, you're being too pushy and everything. Like, you know, how we barely even established this, like, father-son tag team, and they're already, like, interjecting this like wedge between them, and there's like no catalyst for it really. It's just because Dominic is too much of a fuck up. he's blaming Ray. Then Sami Zayn comes in and says, you know, you should trust your instincts and not listen to your dad. And, you know, I don't know, but, like, Zayn was not as entertaining here as he really normally is. And I don't know if it's because they stripped away his whole, like, you had one of the best acts going, and it was Sami Zayn. I mean, this is what really truly, like, pisses me off about this whole company. We see a fantastic show from MSG. We see that there's potential to do characters. Speaking of which, we had probably we could have gotten one of the best characters in years in NXT with what was his name? Joe. What was his name? Lacey or something like that. Anyway, I watched his promo, and this guy was doing an SJW bit, and they actually ripped the videos down from their site. And they took them off here on YouTube. So now you got to go to, like, third-party people who are reposting it. And I'm like, because certain people got offended by it because they got backlash. Which, if they get backlash, that's a good thing. Because that brings back that heel heat. You've got somebody now. Okay, you established that. So you know what you do? Then you bring them up to the main roster, put them on Fox, and you've got, but you know what? People on Fox probably SJWs, and they don't want that. No, sir, don't want it. So what do? They just get rid, they scrap it, they're done with it. And I mean, this guy was probably going to go on to be Steven Richards 2.0 in the RTC, you know, and probably even more than that. I mean, you know, back then there was just some groups that wanted to cancel, you know, TV programs, and, you know, no one really paid attention. Most of the people made fun of it. But, like, now you have a legitimate scary cancel culture, world that we live in right now. It's not just the segment. We live in a world where, just nefarious people want to hurt others and ruin careers, like the Dark Side of the Ring people, which no true wrestling fan who loves this business would really support that show. And no wrestler. I put it up a Twitter post. Follow me there. TheBradRules one. If you don't already, a lot of you people don't, so you probably should. I have been more active on there over the years. I've been like very negligent when it comes to Twitter, but I've been trying to be a bit more of a responsible Twitter user, and I've been posting more on there. So I think it would be worth your while if you're interested to see what I have to post. But besides that, yeah, I mean, they had a great character in the works, and now few people went boo hoo, and we don't get promos that will really make us reflect on the real world scenario. Instead, we get Cringey Lynch and Bianca Belair. Just think of that in your mind. You could be listening to something very timely and something that speaks to reality, that and it's a parody which gets heat, but it's also like meant to be taken seriously at the same time, like the right to censor. Like, they were a parody of reality, but they also had the Good Father and Bull Buchanan beating people's asses down. So they were meant to be taken seriously. And we could have had that. Could you imagine if you had a cancel culture faction? Wouldn't that be awesome? But we'll never know, because just one segment and it's already gone. Cancel culture canceled the cancel culture type character. Isn't that just the very definition of irony? Well, it's gone and we'll never see it again. But anyway, yeah, so, Sami Zayn is just another victim of a great character that seems to now been wiped from existence. Naomi comes to the ring and she does her entrance and she makes a challenge to anybody back there, but Sonya Deville says, no, this is not happening. Naomi actually, more than Bianca or anybody, actually got the crowd behind her, which makes me really wonder why they don't really get more behind Naomi. I mean, to me, out of like all these, like, I just don't get, like, why are we giving a match to Liv Morgan and Carmella where we have Naomi? Where we've got, first of all, attractive. She can, fire up a crowd. Crowd seems to genuinely like her, and she has the ability. So, I mean, so you have, like, a pretty well-rounded talent here, and she's already been there, experienced, as she has said in her promos with the little segments with Sonya Deville. I kind of like this authority figure angle that they worked out here. Sonya comes out, as I said, and tells security to escort her out of the building, and that's just what they do. And I thought it was decent. Once again, this is like, it was very basic. I felt like there could have been more layers to it. Obviously, this is going to lead up to a match with Sonya Deville and Naomi. The funny thing about this to me is this. Sonya Deville, okay, God bless her for what happened to her. That was a terrible experience and everything. But they gave her this role, I guess, out of sympathy, to put her mind at ease and not have her, have her mind messed up and her body messed up. So, I mean, everyone that says that WWE are big meanies and they just, are out to get people, that's another example of like how they actually are genuinely sometimes pretty decent. Aside from also paying people's rehab and all that sort of stuff, and also offering psychological help to a lot of wrestlers, which a lot of people, after the whole Daphne incident, people were bad-mouthing that. And anytime the WWE does something half decent, there's nefarious means behind it. But if AEW does something, it's fantastic, and I mean, it's just sickening already. So, they try to help people in Sonya Deville. But, thing is, we're building up to a match with her and Sonya Deville. But, like, Sonya Deville has got to be, like, the worst actress, like, they've ever had in an authority figure. I mean, seriously, I've talked about Mike Adamle. I've talked about Scrap Heap Adam Pierce and the comparison to Mike Adamle. Like, people hated Mike Adamle, and that's why they made him the GM, because he had that built-in heat, because people hated him as the announcer, remember? So they kind of just transposed him into another role. But man, these are just some boring ass characters, as I've said for like the past year in these reviews. And we're like building up to a match with Sonya, where she was really just a mid carder, never a champion, not anywhere close to being a women's champion. You know, she was kind of like on the Liv Morgan level, even kind of below that in a way. I mean, you know, she was just like another women's wrestler on there. I mean, what was she was in the team there with Paige managing them and Mandy Rose. And there was nothing really that came of them. We had, you know, an interesting little angle where it could have made Sonya's career. We also could have had Ronda Rousey versus her, and you know, they threw that one away. And now we're kind of just building towards a match where, okay, she's going to wrestle a former lower mid-card wrestler. I don't know, but I mean, they did put some juice behind it here, and I did kind of like it for the most part. You know, I was kind of thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh, wow, this is like Austin versus McMahon with the energy of like -1 in comparison. I'm sure there's going to be someone, you know, posting that online with Austin and McMahon and that little segment, same energy, hashtag same energy, guys, right? You know those cringeworthy posts, you know, something that like Ringside News or one of these other like these other cringy pages on Facebook or, you know, Twitter or Instagram would put up, something like that. Yeah, you know what's coming. Same energy, guys, right? We've got Otis and Gable going face to face with the Usos as the Usos are walking Reigns down the hallway for his match against Montez Ford. This was kind of strange, you know, nothing is said. They're just staring, as you know, until the camera decides to go away. Then we have a Cringey Lynch cutting a really weird promo, like you know, credit for them cutting it from a new angle instead of perfectly standing in front of the SmackDown logo like they usually do with Kayla Braxton there. You know, at least it felt a little bit more organic. But like, you know, this is what I'm talking about these promos with Cringey Lynch, like repeating herself saying the same thing. You know, oh, it's not gonna be the result people are thinking. Like, just man, like, come up with some different verbiage, some different material, for God's sakes. I'm gonna beat you. No, you're not. Blah blah. Like, it's the same thing. And I mean, you know, I get it. We're all coming down to the same, you know, point at the end of the day. You know, I'm gonna win the match. No, I'm gonna win the match. But you know, they managed to do that during every other era of wrestling besides like the past decade or so. You know, and they found different ways to get that message across without actually having to say it. And now that we've really just stripped away all the details and all the sparkly, glittery, you know, portions of these promos, and now it's just bare bones. I'm going to beat you. No, I'm going to beat you. I beat you in 26 seconds, so it'll be really easy to beat you. And we're just, and you know, and we're really being that basic. I mean, it's really that bare bones, and it's really incredible. Kind of like when you sit back, kind of like what I do, and sit back and kind of like really compare it to the past and think about it, and you think of the content of a lot of these promos. They're not saying anything. A lot of it's kind of repeating the same thing. It really is just very monotonous, and it's kind of what we got here, except it was backstage. Then we wrap up the show with Reigns defeating Montez Ford in what was a pretty good match. I mean, you know, it's just one half of a tag team is giving Reigns this much trouble. You know, he's not even an established tag team guy. You know what I mean? It's not like Jeff Hardy in there. You know, we're talking about Montez Ford. And though this guy is super talented and super athletic, and I did find it hilarious how the announce table broke beneath his feet Also, Pat McAfee. I mean, that's what I'm talking about with this guy. The quick input from him saying it was because of my fat ass standing on it. He's referencing when he was dancing to Nakamurphy's music before. I thought that that was a pretty funny comment. Like I said, McAfee is just on. I really enjoy him on commentary. This is like one of the best commentary experiences I've had since Mauro Ranallo being on commentary, which was so long ago. I know it wasn't that long for NXT fans, but you know, I didn't watch NXT, so I only got to experience him when he was on SmackDown. But yeah, good match. I enjoyed it. And then at the end, the Usos come out, and Reigns does the Stone Cold versus Rock at WrestleMania 17 spot with smashing him with the chair multiple times in the back when he's laying on his stomach. They roll him to the outside, and he puts him through the table with a rock bottom. And then Balor shows up. I'm like, a little late there, Balor. But at least he was dressed as the Demon. And I liked the way they did the entrance. And he was already on the top of the turnbuckle. Well, not even on the turnbuckle. He was actually standing on the fucking ring post itself. And then he dove off and hit a cross body. Beat them down with kendo sticks. And, I generally thought, that was pretty decent way to end the show. I just kind of thought it was a little bit weird that they waited like all the way to the end of the show to show anything with Balor. I mean, like would have been interesting if maybe like, well, when Reigns was sitting back there with Heyman, the lights flashed or they went out and we could have maybe saw like Balor stalking him. But, I don't know. Like they used to do these little touches. But we don't get that. I mean, even like doing things like what they would do with the Boogeyman, the Undertaker, just kind of tweak that stuff and kind of make it fit the scenario. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's so obvious to me with some of this stuff. Like, is it like that with any of you guys? Like, you just watch this and you see missed opportunities all over the place. Like, it's like decent what they're showing you, but they could do so much better. And we've seen countless examples. It's just like they gotta have a good night. They gotta really be feeling it to really like give you something good. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, how was this show? I mean, it was all right, I suppose. I mean, I really did like the main event. I thought that was a genuinely entertaining match. I thought that the Naomi Sonya Deville thing was a little bit interesting. That kind of did give a bit more purpose to someone as talented as Naomi, but I'm not going to go out of my way of saying it was truly amazing. I mean, it was just all right. Decent Rollins promo, like really cringy opening segment. I mean, the show had a decent, flow to it, and there was nothing really just overly like, oh, I gotta turn it off, but really just decent, I suppose, passable, better than last week, I'll say that much. But yeah, there you go, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell so you get all notifications when I post on my new videos. And I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.